Happy Thursday, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another week with us here at the Connect Center for Bussin It Up. I'm super excited for tonight, man. We have had some phenomenal sessions prior to, but tonight we're actually partnering with VBW Training, and we thought of doing a just an informative session tonight, and we thought to do that by way of interview. And so, before we get into that, to allow you guys to kind of see what exactly is going on, I want our guests to be able to introduce themselves and for them to kind of just share who they are and what it is that they are doing. But before we do that, today, here at the Connect Center, we had a phenomenal day. Of course, we every Thursday we've been doing the COVID testing, and so you are more than welcome on Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. To come. We have the COVID van, the COVID buses that come here to provide and to be a resource to the community. Not only that, today we had again our pop-up food giveaway. Today we had some good stuff to give away. We had chicken breasts, we had some beef, we had some pancakes, we just eggs, potatoes, produce, and so always bear in mind that the third Thursday of each month, that is going to be a consistent day. But as you guys stay tuned with us, we continue to kind of like pop up and let you guys know when it is that we are having kind of a food distribution. In addition to that, I want you to mark your calendars for July 6th. July 6th, here at the Connect Center, we are going to be partnering with Dress for Success. Dress for Success is bringing their mobile bus here to the space, whereas they are going to provide, more specifically for women, clothing for them. So if you have any kind of a job, if you are currently working even in a health profession, they have scrubs, they have all of these items that you will be able to sort through and utilize. And so we're doing our best to bring resources here to the community as much as possible. And so you'll see links for that on our website, as well as on just through email as well. So stay tuned. Mark your calendar, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that today, July the 19th, and that is where this is actually stemming from. We are hosting a blood drive right here at the Connect Center. And so our aim is to have at least 32 people who will provide, that will donate blood. And so our hope today is that our conversation today will encourage you to be a person or persons who will be a part of that process with us. Without further ado, I want to introduce our interviewees today. Our interviewees today have their own experience, and you're going to hear from them. I'm going to introduce them one by one, and allow them to kind of just give us their background information, and then we'll kind of ask them some questions. You'll be open to send your questions to us, that we may ask them if you guys are interested in learning about their experiences or even the process of the blood context. And so, what's up, sir? Mr. Jules, how are you, sir?
I'm all good, man. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
No doubt. Appreciate you for inviting me. You know what I mean? Onto the platform.
Not a problem, brother. So, yeah, man, let us know. Tell us who you are, what it is that you do, what it is that you have going on. Why are you even here? Why would you be a part of this conversation?
Okay, well, I would be a part of this conversation because as somebody that was born with sickle cell anemia, I kind of been spreading awareness my whole life. So when it comes to sickle cell in Pittsburgh, a lot of people push me to the forefront, to speak at a lot of events and do a lot of different things. So I'm always, on the front line. So they called me, so I pulled up. That's simple.
I appreciate you pulling up, sir. So so you're a person who actually do a lot of advocating for sickle cell. Is that like a current job or a role that you currently have now, or is that just something that you just started to do just based upon your own experience?
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, just growing up, in the inner city, in the Garfield, East Liberty area, even Homewood, and everywhere on the east side. I always had to be a spokesperson for sickle cell when I would get sick and miss, school or miss times in the hood, kicking it with friends. My brothers and my dad would have to tell everybody what was going on with me. So that was kind of the beginning of it. And then, once I became an adult and just, doing a little better with my health, eating better and changing my life and working out and doing music and doing battle rap and working, doing advocacy work with the Children's Sickle Cell Foundation. Also, I was a president of the sickle cell advocacy team with UPMC. So it was just different things that I have done throughout my 35 years of living that just pushed me to do it because a lot of people that have sickle cell, they're not really outspoken. They're really, some people are even ashamed. Nobody wants to say they have a disease or they have anything wrong with them, but it was something I couldn't hide. Like I said, my brothers would tell people what was going on with me, even if I wouldn't. So it was just something that just was kind of like a calling, I guess.
Got you. Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you stepping into your calling once again. I appreciate you being here today, Mr. Curtis. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for being here today, man. Can you tell us just a little about who you are and why you being a part of this conversation is going to be instrumental?
Well, I have sickle cell anemia as well. I grew up with Julian side by side in the hospital. Uh, I'm here because my cousin called out, asked me if I help come talk to the people about my experiences in the hospital and why and how the blood transfusions affect me as a person. I, I look up to this man to the right of me, so I was like, let me do this. Let me put in my time trying to get awareness out to the people. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much. So you guys said that you guys grew up together. How? What do you mean? Like, give us context of what you mean that you guys grew up
Well,
together.
we met in the ER. We was both sick at one time. We actually had like a little family, a little community in the hospital, have each other's back if one mother couldn't be there. Other mothers would stand up and take that mother's place. So we've been in pain in the same room next to each other, fighting this illness, and we just developed the friendship. Then we turned into brothers, and now we've been tight since what, like 4 or 5.
Yeah, the round area, yeah. And then we also had my man Peter. Shout out to him, rest in peace. He died back in 2011, I believe. And me, him, we was like the three amigos. So going to sickle cell camps, causing havoc in hospitals. We grew up together and kind of like almost got similar blood, like we was brothers. So yeah, we grew up with each other, and our moms are close and all of that. So it's really real. It's family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's really dope. That it's amazing how life kind of, even in situations like that, starting at a young age, but that you guys was able to kind of develop a relationship, a friendship, and be each other's support throughout that. And as you stated, a lot of people are unfamiliar with sickle cell and all of what it entails. And so to be able to have someone at a young age, I think that's a blessing.
Yes,
So
sir.
we have who is this over here?
This
Miss
is my
Carla.
beautiful mother.
Hello, hello. I'm Carla Crawford. I'm Curtis's mom. I'm Julian's second mom. And the reason I'm here, I'm more of an advocate for my son. I'm the type of mom that I'm the mom I BYOB. I bring my own blow up bed to the hospital. I never try to leave my son's side. Um, but we're here today to talk about the importance of what blood transfusions do for my son. My son not only gets blood transfusion, he gets what is called electrophoresis,
Okay.
which is a blood exchange. It's sort of like a dialysis of his blood, where they take out his blood, take the sickle cells out of the blood, run it through a machine, and then add more blood to it.
Mm. Okay.
So he's beyond just the normal blood transfusion. Then we call it a blood exchange or electrophoresis.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get into that. We definitely gonna get into that. But we have three different perspectives here. We have the mom perspective, and then we have two individuals who have gone through and is actually living the life. And so our hope today, and we're hoping that you're sharing this broadcast and that you're sharing this session, is to bring some sort of importance and necessary of what giving blood can do. And some people are afraid of that process, but you don't know on the other end of just a little bit of blood and what that can do for someone's life and how that can change and transform. And not only that, save somebody's life. All right. So, and that's our hope today. It's just to just kind of allow you to hear stories and experiences about that. So, man, let's if y'all don't mind, a lot of it is going to be you all, and then we're going to jump over to mom and ask mom how it was, supporting and her experiences even now, because I'm pretty sure that job isn't done and it's not over. I'm sure that you guys are still kind of, you have your days and you have your moments that this process still continues to take its toll on you. So what is sickle cell? Let's start there. What's sickle cell? What's sickle cell anemia?
Well, I would say it's a blood disorder with your red blood cells, and it causes your blood cells to lose oxygen at times. So when your blood cells that are circular shaped like a donut, once they lose oxygen, now they're shaped like a crescent moon, and that's swimming through your bloodstream, which swims through your whole body, your head, feet, everything. So you can have pain anywhere you have blood, having
Mm,
sickle cell. So you can have pain anywhere. So that's pretty much what it is. And when you have low iron, which usually comes from, not having a diet, like a balanced diet, you're going to be more prone to having bad blood cells. So we got to deal with diet, and we got to deal with hereditary issues with sickle cell. But to like make the short end of it, you know what I mean, and not be all scientific, it just causes a lot of pain. And it could cause anything from, organ failure, people can have seizures or stroke, anything you could think of can stem from you having issues with sickle cell.
gotcha. So and how does one, is this inherited? Is this just something that anyone
Yes,
could just contract being born? How does that happen?
it's inherited. My family is like the perfect example. My mother and my father both had sickle cell trait. That's one part being no sickle cell, other part is my oldest sister. She is born with nothing, so she got both of the normal genes from my parents. I was born with sickle cell anemia, SS, so I was born with two sickle genes. My youngest sister was born with one sickle and one normal gene, and she has the trait just like my parents. And people with sickle cell have to be careful with who they mate with because it can easily happen to your kids.
Mm.
So it's important to get tested.
So is that like conversations that, like, when you say who they mate with, is those like important conversations that you have like initially early on, like,
Yes.
hey, like this is something that I carry or something that is actually, you know, within my family. So what does that look like for you, or even have you even been tested?
I believe it's important for whoever you're talking to. It's important for them to know. Like Jules say, there are some people that are ashamed of it, but it's important to let people know because they have the right. Your partner has the right to choose if they want their kids to have this kind of life.
Hmm.
So I believe it's very important.
So, mom, how knowing that your family, this has been something that has is inherited, and that's something that kind of goes to your family. How has that affected you and your family?
Well, actually, I was 25 years old and married, and I never even knew I had sickle cell trait, and neither did my ex-husband. He was even in the military.
Oh wow.
So when Curtis was first, well, first we kept taking him back and forth to the doctors because we knew something was wrong. And they were telling us gastritis, this, that, and the other, all these different types of things that they thought was wrong with him. Then the one time my oldest daughter, she got his hand caught in the door. So his hands and his feet swelled up. So I went back to the ER. I'm like, no, this is not gastritis. So then that's when they came up with maybe he had sickle cell or sickle cell trait. And when they did the testing, he did have the full blood sickle cell.
Mm,
So it was actually really a shock because, like I said, I never knew. And it is important to let your other person who you mate with know, because if he has full blown sickle cell, his child, whatever child he has, will at least have sickle cell trait because they get one gene from the mother and you get one gene from your father. He has both sickle cell genes. So whatever his kid, if he has a child, they will at least have sickle cell trait.
okay.
Now, depending if the mother has, if she has nothing at all, then the kid would have sickle cell trait. But if the mother has sickle cell trait, the child has a chance of coming out with full blown sickle cell because it would get maybe the normal gene from the mother, and then he would have definitely had the sickle cell gene, or it might get the sickle cell gene from the mother and his sickle cell gene, and then that child will have full blown sickle cell. Now, with Curtis, we've lost count. When he was a teenager, he was in the hospital for over 300 times.
Oh wow.
This has been just our life has just been in the hospital. In November, Curtis had open heart surgery. I mean, and since November, he's been in the hospital 2 times, and each time he's been in the hospital for over a month each time.
Wow.
So this is really, and not only he's had at 16, he had to get a bilateral hip replacement,
And all of this is stemming
sickle cell
from sickle
anemia.
cell
Yes.
anemia. And so the question that comes to mind, you described very thoroughly, the whole context of all the different dynamics that can happen with it. Um, and so you being in the hospital, you said and over 300.
By the time I was 14,
By the time you were 14, over 300 times. How was that? Like, how was that experience for you?
it's life to me.
Hmm.
I even
So
came
when
up.
you say life, is that something that still happens now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Uh, I even asked my mother one time. I woke up and I was just curious what it felt like to wake up and not be in pain.
Mm,
I It's just boggled my mind on how people could just walk around in this world and not have pain. Because I've been in so much of it my whole life.
mm,
But it's just life to me. People say I'm strong. People say I'm this, I'm that. I'm just surviving day to day. This is my job.
yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. How about you, sir? How was your experience? Were you frequently, at the hospital, in and out of the hospital? How was that for you?
Yeah, my situation growing up as a kid was similar to that. I probably been in the hospital hundreds of times as a kid, needles and morphine and I mean, that was like he said, that was the lifestyle. But after my boy Peter died, which was like a brother to me, I took it upon myself to just, and I had some terrible experiences in the hospital. So once I my man died and just different things happened, it kind of forced me into changing some things about my life that I know wasn't helping my sickle cell. You get what I'm saying? Running the streets, smoking and weed all the time, drinking.
Is that because a part of you wanted to kind of have like a normal life, like simply like you wanted to kind of just live as if like the sickle cell wasn't a part of.
I mean, not honestly, not really, because I
Okay.
didn't think that eating right and all that could help my sickle cell because it just sounds too simple. Sickle cell is a complex disease. You can't even describe the pain really. There's
Disorder.
no cure for it. There's no real treat. They're just starting to do different things with it. So, I can't say that I was changing thinking that. I just knew I had to change, period. You get what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
just like if somebody don't got sickle cell, you might not want to be in the streets hanging with different people. You might not want to be clubbing and going hard and smoking and drinking and living a fast lifestyle. That's what I was into. You know what I mean? I'm a rapper in the inner city. That was just the lifestyle. But once I drew back and started focusing on work, and I'm getting older now, it just kind of just things got a lot better for me because I got, I learned a lot on how to deal with the pain and how to cope with it. And I think that mixed with the life changes that I had made helped a lot.
So, Ms. Carla, one of the things that you mentioned earlier, it was their initial thought was not sickle cell. So, is sickle cell something that you have to be intentional about asking the doctor to look for, or that's not like a part of like their normal kind of regiment to say, anytime you go to the doctor, they're like, oh, we're going to do blood work, right? We're going to do some blood work. But I'm going to make the assumption based off of kind of what you shared that a part of that is not running it through a context of sickle cell.
Well, I don't know what they do nowadays.
Okay.
We're talking about over 30 years ago. Like Curtis was even born with jaundice, which is a telltale sign of that he might have sickle cell. But now you have to get a certain test. It's called the sickle dex test to actually see if you got sickle cell anemia. So like I would suggest that all blacks need to go, and not only black people, also I think Mexicans and Indians and different like dark
Everybody,
Everybody.
everybody could kind of get
right
sickle cell.
nowadays. Which
You could get thalassemia. That's a myth that only black people get it.
right.
Because now there's so much biracial. There's biracial people. There's people that look white as, you know what I mean, white as white on Facebook groups in the hospital crying out for help. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing that's going to change a lot of things is that it's not just affecting us. So be on the lookout for different cultures. People that have Greek descent get it a lot too. People from Italian descent, people
Right.
that come straight directly from the African bloodline. And see, that's why sickle cell is so deep because it's not like a lot of these other diseases, you know what I mean, that people think, just popped out here out of it goes deep. So
Sickle cell started out as a blessing too.
Mm.
Most people don't know that.
Can you explain that? You said sickle cell started out as a blessing.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yep.
Julian could elaborate it better than I can. So
Yeah, well, basically, and some people will argue this too, but sickle cell, if you do the research on the history of it, it came from Africa, and a lot of people that were getting sickle cell, it was a protection mechanism. It was a gift from the gods, so you wouldn't catch malaria. That was like COVID at the time. Like people were dying, and so there's belief that sickle cell protected a lot of Africans from a lot of other diseases. You get what I'm saying? But people don't talk about that. It's only when they took us from, or we, are in a colder climate and eating rice and beans and eating a different diet that you know what I mean, was really given for us. Like, because you got to think we're from Africa, most of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, we had a different diet than we have today, eating burgers and fries and a lot of foods that don't really bring iron to the body. So he's right as far as like sickle cell, it really was a protection mechanism to fight off other diseases. But when you take people with sickle cell in a colder climate, you know, it changes the game as far as diet. See, if you take somebody with diabetes and put them in a different climate where they can't eat the right foods, you know, to sustain their healthy lifestyle, then you get a lot of pain and different stuff like that.
So, do you see people who experiences sickle cell or fighting through it, moving to warmer climates to kind of help them combat, this experience? Okay.
Mhm. But with that, it's a lot of economics involved because you know a lot of
Absolutely.
people can't just pick up and move to, you know, different places. But I've heard and I could imagine that if people move to warmer climates, they'll fare way better because you know cold constricts. So
Yeah.
you got to think of your bloodstream. If it's hot, it's gonna flow better, right? If it's cold, it'll freeze up and it'll be slower to flow and easier to sickle and easier to clump. Your blood cells can easier clump up together because heat expands.
Yeah.
That's why we want what when we in the hospital? Hot
Hot
packs.
packs.
You get what I'm saying? You don't want nothing cold when that pain hits
Hey,
you.
I'm pulling this all in. I love being educated this way, and I kind of like, yeah. So yeah,
You
Most
also,
definitely.
you
Well, this is
also,
why we here because we got to start educating our people.
hmm
You get what I'm saying? If we don't educate our people, then we're going to fall victim to the same things. And sickle cell awareness is important. See, you got breast cancer awareness, but just because I say breast cancer awareness, that might not stop women from getting breast cancer. If I teach this young brother about sickle cell and make sure your girl is tested if you're sexually active, and this is the see, my cousins and brothers, and they know about sickle cell. You know what I mean? They're a little educated more on it than somebody that doesn't know me. So it's like it is important to use these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to spread awareness. So this is dope that you're doing this.
So how does blood, you know what I mean? Like how does like blood, and you talked about it a little earlier, not only, that you have kind of a blood exchange. So how does people, our community, family members, so on and so forth, them donating or giving blood, how does that benefit or impact persons such as yourself that have sickle cell or other diseases that are, or that would be helpful? How does that impact?
well, me personally, before I start getting blood transfusions, blood exchange, before I even start getting all of that, I would say I was in the hospital at least 7 times a month. And after receiving my blood transfusion and exchanges, it cut it down to where, and I used to live in Hawaii, and it cut my time from being in the hospital 7 times a month to I was what, twice every 2 months or something like that. So, and they got it to where I wasn't even in the hospital for a year at one point. That
You said that you were in the hospital for a year or you weren't?
I wasn't.
Awesome. So because of your blood exchange and because people were donating blood and that kind of helped in your process.
Right.
Okay.
It helped immensely, and I couldn't be more grateful to them for that.
Yeah. Dope. So I mean he's kind of sharing that, it can be important. Just a little bit can make a world of difference, and so that's what we want to, throughout this conversation, we want to highlight that. As he said prior to having these blood transfusions, that he was in the hospital 7 times, 7 times in a month. But then because of persons who were open to donating their blood, it kind of changed and transformed. How about yourself, sir? How about blood exchange or?
Well, yeah, I think it's very important because that just gives another person a chance to extend or bring quality to their life. Me, I never really had blood transfusions, because when I was more into the in and out of the hospital, that was something that they weren't practicing that frequently. That wasn't something that was they were just doing like that. But now they've found so much, progress from doing that. And we of course need, you got different people with different blood types. So of course we need everybody, or as many people as we can to donate, because that's going to change lives. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, thank you.
It allowed me to feel like I could at least experience what normal life was for a time. And I value that to the utmost.
Yeah.
I actually felt like a normal kid for a while.
Hmm. No, that's everything. That's everything.
Yeah.
Ma, how about you? How did you see the people's ability to give and to give in that way, to sacrifice in that way, kind of help and transform, yourself and even, your son's life.
Well, when they need blood, they have little energy. You can actually tell. But I can remember the first time Curtis got blood. I think he's maybe 3 or 4 years old. And at that time, I swore he got Richard Simmons blood
Hmm.
because he was just so down and lackadaisical. But as soon as he got that blood, he was jumping around the room like a little Mexican jumping bean and everything. I'm like, whose blood is this that my son got? But one thing that I've been noticing, the more and more blood he gets, now he has to take Benadryl and everything to so he doesn't get allergic reactions and stuff like that. And I just wonder, I'm not sure that this, if he had like a supply, I don't know if it's a difference in black people's blood and, Caucasians' blood or whatever.
Hmm.
But maybe if I'm just putting this out because I'm not sure, maybe if there was more blacks, maybe he wouldn't have to get so much Benadryl and everything to fight against that because we are, people say, oh, we're human and we bleed the same, but we are actually different species.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
sometimes I do wonder.
Yeah, sickle cell proves it, because we the ones mostly getting it. So that proves that
Yeah.
everything ain't gonna work for everybody. That's why, even though my life has changed in a different way and some stuff has worked for me, I don't champion and push that on other people, because everybody's different and
Right.
everybody gotta go through their own walks of life and learn what's gonna work for them. So I had to learn how to be more compassionate and patient with my fellow brothers and sisters who have sickle cell, because I was hard on a lot of people when I first started learning a lot.
What do you mean? Like how were you hard? Like I'm able to kind of do this. Like you, come on.
Basically, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it was not like that, because I never was like that with it, but it was certain things that I was passionate about that I feel like people was just brushing off.
Okay.
And I felt like that's cool if you don't agree with what I'm saying, but don't just write off what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? Because these are my brothers and sisters. So, I ain't coming to the table with nothing that I think is bad for y'all.
Right. Right.
Now, my whole thing was, a lot of people didn't try a lot of different stuff. You know what I mean? All we ever tried was the hospital. Go to the doctor, IV, morphine or Dilaudid, and all right, cool. Well, let's try some other things, was all I was saying. You get what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
when you deal with our people, man, and you deal with people, period, everybody is just, some people just, it's hard to see. It's like how he said how he felt when he had the blood. You know what I'm saying? Some people can't imagine that. Some people, like, like how I work out now, even having sickle cell, some people couldn't, like, even me, I couldn't imagine doing some of the things I do now. Like, even speaking at events and being able to be healthy and travel and do, like, I would have never thought that.
Yeah, and I think again, it's platforms like this to be able to communicate that to our people, to say, listen, like we understand that you might be cautious and you want to be careful. However, there are still different things about what you don't know, what you
Right.
don't know about giving blood, what you don't know about sickle cell, what you don't know about a lot of the things that we just automatically kind of give just a bad it's just like a bad thing for us,
Yeah.
because we're not as educated. And
Right.
so even for myself, as a person, when I grew up, the first time that I heard of sickle cell, I was in high school, and one of my classmates had it, and this person was just missing school frequently. They was just missing school frequently, and then one day, and it was a kind of a bad experience, so to speak. So one day, like the teacher kind of blasted him, saying like, you're oftentimes missing. You're always missing. If you wasn't missing, then you'd be caught up.
It was wild.
And basically, this individual exploded, was just like, you don't even know like what I'm going through, for you to even, make these comments that you're going, like that you're making. And so, of course, the teacher, this exchange was just like, well, what are you going through that's so bad that you need to miss all of these days? Wasn't the best, exchange to be having in school. And he said it like, he was just like, I have sickle cell. And at the time, I'm just like, like, I'm sitting in my seat like, what's that? And some people was just like, oh, and other people was just like, what's that?
I used to hate that all
Look.
stuff. I'd be like, man, y'all hated me all year. Now it's all y'all feel bad for me now.
There's some
I
people was
used to
like,
hate that.
oh, other people was just like, well, what's that? Like, what is it? And so I seen the expression on the teacher's face change so quickly and so drastically. And it was just like, all right, based upon her face, there's got to be something serious. Like, there has to be something to this. You know what I mean? And so that was like my first introduction of ever hearing about sickle cell. And then from that, the teacher actually made us do a whole class report on it.
See,
You know
that's
what I mean?
dope.
Right.
And not sickle cell weirdness.
Right.
See how young it started with us? And he was forced to do it.
Mhm.
That's the same thing. I could relate to that. Because I didn't want to tell the whole school I had sickle cell. But when you miss 2 weeks of school and you already popular or known throughout the school, everybody used to you running around rapping, chasing girls, and then you going for 2 weeks. It's like, yo, where's Jules at? Where's Curtis at? Then when you show up, you gotta answer the whole
And if-
1,000 people in school.
And if you're not confident, you got to try to make an excuse, you know what I mean, about why you were really missing, so
Right.
on and so forth. And yeah, I mean, sooner or later, those excuses start wearing thin. You
And
know
the
what I
crazy
mean?
thing about
Right.
sickle cell is like, it's not like other diseases where like sometimes you can see somebody's not doing well. Like we're warriors, bro. We done had some of the worst pain, like people getting shot in wars. So we're not always going to have a sad face and crying. So, it's hard for people to understand us, but we're not always, we look, a lot of us look young. We still, you know what I mean? So a lot of people don't know the pain we go through.
So let me ask you, how do y'all cope? Like, what are some of the coping tools and skills that you guys use? Even you, mom, like, how do you cope with knowing that, today you could be really, busting it up with your son, and then tomorrow, or you got plans for tomorrow, and then you got to put those plans on hold because something may have happened, or, he maybe has, immediately taken sick, and now you have to alter that. How do you all cope with, dealing with this?
Well, for me, it's getting worse for me. I'm getting more and more frightened each and every time, honestly. So now it gets to a point where I'm going through anxiety
Mm.
when he starts getting sick. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being truthful. Um, but honestly, he's never really feeling good. He's always hurting. I mean, he's probably sitting up here right now in pain. But he's like,
She could tell that by my knee moving.
yeah, see, his legs is in pain. One time he was in so much pain, everything he said was hurting him except for his eyeballs.
Mm.
And I had an adult when Curtis was first diagnosed. I was part of a support group, and I had an adult sickler tell me she would rather be in labor giving birth because she didn't have sickle cell pain.
Mm.
She said one time she was walking around and her foot was hurting her. And when she went to the doctors, her foot was broke like in 3 places. But she's so used to the sickle cell pain that it was nothing to her. So this is the examples of the pain that, you know, that my son goes through. I can't feel it for myself, but it really kills me when we go to the hospital and they act like they're only there after pain medication, and like they're just a bunch of junkies, because that's what a lot of our sickler people go through when they go in for their pain medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my son, and that's why I make sure I go with him every time, because he's not that type. He's not a pain seeker, a pain medicine seeker.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a shame I have to go to the hospital and be like, he's not a pain medicine seeker. He needs help. That's why I really feel it's so important. And this is not only with sickle cell. If you got someone that you love and they're in that hospital, you need to be there at that hospital with them as much as you can. At least I'm there 24/7, because that's when they really, really need you, when they're down on their bed and they're
Mm-hmm.
sick. That's when a person really needs you. And so many people are stuck left in that hospital by themselves.
Yeah, so that just, I mean, just thank you for just being an advocate, and again, I'm sure I don't need to thank you. That's your role, and that's how serious you take it. But some moms may not see it as severe and as supportive as you've been, and I'm sure it's certainly been, to the fact that you can kind of notice when he's in pain. And so thank you again for just being here while in
Absolutely,
pain,
absolutely.
man, and still being able to kind of push through and just educate us and inform us. But what are some ways that like you kind of cope with your situation?
I try to first and foremost have a good attitude. I know I'm in a lot of pain, but even though I'm in a lot of pain, I try to joke around with the nurses, because being in the hospital is always a serious monotone, and you don't need that when you're going through your paces, you know. So I try to play like jokes. I like do a lot of things that keep my mind off the pain, like playing video games or I'm always doing something. I'm just not sitting there, you know, and it's just a mind over matter thing with me.
Yeah. How about you, sir?
Me, it's just, you know, it's certain things I like to do that just keep my mind off of the pain when I'm having it. I like to read, I like to watch movies, I like to watch documentaries, I like to sometimes stretching may help my pain, massages help a lot. I like to walk, I like being out in the sun, you know, just keeping my mind focused, working, getting money, hanging out with friends. I recently just got a PlayStation 5, so I've been gaming a little bit. Just not trying to just learn the different stuff. Not just keeping it moving,
Gotta
traveling.
stay
Cause I
busy.
got pain every day, just like my brother. That's why I feel him. I had pain every day. People, I put a smile on it, but people don't really feel it.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? But it's like, I think a lot of people go through different things and different health things. People got bad backs, people got, diabetes, and you know what I'm saying? So it's like we try not to cry about it. We just thug it out, just
Yeah.
every day struggling.
How has it impacted your specific families? Like, I really want to hear, and I'm definitely going to come over to you, but I want to hear from you, your standpoints, how, even like from school to, like your home life to even like your job, if you're, holding a job, how has it really impacted like your family on those different tiers?
You want me to go first or you want?
You go for
Well, growing up, me and my sisters would butt heads a lot because they felt my mother paid more attention to me, and my mother's the type. She's the greatest woman in the world. Seriously, she kept. I could think of at least 3 times where she literally saved my life.
Mm.
I went into a coma and she stopped the doctors from killing me, basically. But my mother's been there for me on my journey the whole way. And my sisters really didn't understand what I was going through. They knew it was serious, but they didn't know how serious, and it kind of created a rift between us. Young, uh, they understood to a certain degree later in life, but there's a lot of arguments and just disarray at an early age, and kind of stuck with us through adulthood. So I didn't have the best experience with family. I feel like I make my family. The people I have around me, I choose to be around me. I feel like they're more family than some of my family members now,
Hmm.
and that's just how I grew up, family wise. Yeah,
What about school and
school.
like employment?
Uh, Before I got really sick, uh, I was a great student, but after I got sick, I missed so much school. I couldn't catch back up. I missed so much school. I literally spent a year in the hospital. That's when my hips started to deteriorate and then all that stuff. So I had so much back work, I could not catch up with all the pain I was dealing with. So I actually dropped out of high school. But even though I wasn't able to graduate high school, I still took the initiative. I'm like, if I'm interested, if I'm interested in something, I go to the utmost levels to learn everything about it, and I do that with everything. Even to this day, I feel like anybody, honestly, you could always learn more.
Hmm.
So even though I didn't graduate high school, every day I try to learn at least a handful of things, something new every day. And I honestly believe that you can never stop learning.
So it seems like you did not, although you were unable to kind of finish school based upon your pain, not based upon your not wanting to go, but based upon the condition. You still, even right now, are in a place of like where you're learning. You're still,
Constantly.
constantly learning, educating yourself, um, and the great thing, what I love about it, is that it doesn't seem like you're beating yourself up, about it. Although I'm pretty sure you may want it to be another way, but at the end of the day, I say kudos to you and say, there's so many people who have educated themselves,
Mm,
and there's other people that will argue the wishing that they could only educate themselves on the things that they're interested in, because the things that you learn in school ain't really going to kind of get you
right.
anywhere anyway. So, but I say that to say, man, thank you. Yeah, that's because you hear so many people, um, you hear people dropping out because they just want to drop out,
Hmm.
but like you don't. I've never heard a story of like, I had to drop out because I just could not,
Right.
and so to hear that is just like, wow. And it really puts in my mind, at least, the the privilege, of not being in pain, right? Appreciating
Hmm.
the fact that some of us do not have, we're not called to carry the load that you all are called to carry,
Right.
and so, man, kudos to you, man.
Thank you.
Kudos to you.
I feel I know a little about a lot. I'm that type of person. I've even got some people say that before they got to truly know me, the mannerisms on how I speak and everything, they swore I thought I was in college or have already graduated from college. I was like, really? I'm a dropout. What you talking about? But I guess it's how I carry myself. They think I have that uh, learning. So I I guess I should brush my shoulders off myself
Brush them off,
for
brother.
just continuing and never giving up on my mindset of you could never stop learning.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. What's up, sir? How about you? Like, how was how was it for family and education and just even employment.
See, it's funny, man. Like, and that's why I'm glad I got let him answer first, because it made me realize that, like, because of my family's low education for sickle cell, they probably weren't as supportive as I would have wanted them to be. You know, my mom and dad, I feel like they pretty much did the best that they could do for the education that they had. I feel like if they would have had more education as well as more resources, it would have been different. You get what I'm saying? But my family, you know, my mom and dad had to work every day. They could not afford to miss work because I was in the hospital. That was just a reality. I was blessed to have mothers like her, Miss Angie, my boy Peter's mom, step up, and everybody else's mom was. My mom was there. Don't get it wrong, but she just couldn't be there all the time. You know, some people's mom they spend the night and all of that. I just didn't have that type of support. So I had to educate myself to where that I could live a better life and do all the things that I need to do necessary to where I don't gotta count on family and all of that. But I feel like, you know, they're very proud of the progress that I've made. But I could honestly say they probably didn't see me, you know, probably living to be the person I am now. Because when I was like in school, to answer that part of it, see in school, by the time I got to high school, I was running the streets and doing stuff that I probably shouldn't have been. So it was kind of hard for my parents to probably, you know, feel bad for me like that because they knew that I wasn't doing everything that I needed to do to be excelling in school. And I was very intelligent and I was, you know, doing other things. So that made them a little more harder on me. And I had to get my GED, and you know I couldn't graduate. I didn't go to prom. I was in the hospital for 2 months, I think, in my junior year, and things like that. So you know, it was just a different experience. I was kind of popular in high school, so it was real rough. It was like everybody knew what was going on with me. It was, you know, it's high school. People
Yeah,
talk,
yep.
so it's like it was a lot, man. So you know, but I'm self-educated. You know, I don't have a college degree, but I consider myself to be successful and, you know, productive, like, you know, a lot of other people. So, you know, I didn't never let sickle cell stop me and never let who supported me stop me.
You're a performer, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been to a few places where you perform. Now I think about it,
Mhm.
at some like poetry slams and things of that nature. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So you
Yep.
gotta, yeah. So be able to put stuff like that together. Yeah,
I
you
appreciate it,
nah,
man.
for sure, for
Appreciate it.
sure. How was it for you as it relates to like family and even now it sounds like he mentioned that like you're always there and you mentioned that you're always there. So how has that been for you as it relates to family, how your own employment, even schooling or just how has that journey been?
Well, of course, it's been rough, but when they were little and they would be in children's hospital, I noticed how the nurses would be with the kids whose parents were there, and then when the parents left, how the kids got treated. So I made it my life journey to make sure that I will always be there for either my sons or my daughters, especially at the hospital, because I seen that from an early age. Now, as far as my jobs, it was hard keeping a job because at first, of course, they were sympathetic with me because my son was always in the hospital. But then on the other hand, they needed someone there to do the work.
Right.
So it was a balance in that. And for a while, I had great support with my mom, my mother, and my grandmother, and them. But for me, in the 18-month period, my whole immediate family passed away one right after another. So then that just left me with my three kids. So, I would have to get like um, my sister in law or someone to help watch the girls when Curtis was in the hospital because, again, and then there was even times when the girls would stay the night with us at the hospital. But I did have to work. When we moved to Hawaii, I had four jobs at one time. And I don't even know how I did it with him being in the hospital, me trying to work these jobs because I had to make ends meet too.
Mm-hmm.
and but by the grace of God, by the grace of the Most High, things happen. Now, as far as him in school, when he was in kindergarten, he went out for Christmas vacation and didn't start back until that next September. He was missing chunks and chunks, and I would always let Curtis know, like even by him keeping up the way he was keeping up, like you are really smart, but he didn't have that own self esteem and stuff where he felt he was falling behind.
Hmm.
But to me, he's really brilliant the way he even kept up for all those long periods of time. Because, like I'm saying, he missed the whole second half of the school year, but was still able to keep all the way up, I think, until like the 10th grade when he had to get the bilateral hip replacement and just totally fell behind. But to me, he's very smart. He's very intelligent.
Yeah. 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 It sounds like it. You talk like it.
And she's superwoman.
But it is difficulty with family members, siblings too, because like
Yeah,
a lot of times they feel like,
they feel left out.
yeah, left
They
out.
malarm her too, mom. You know what I'm saying? My,
Yeah.
my brothers pulled that move a couple times. They, get out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's like, man, but at the end of the day, it's not something, unfortunately, that you all were able to control.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, as it relates to, I can't speak for your sisters or your siblings or anything of that nature. But the truth of the matter is, everyone likes attention, right? So it comes
Right.
with negative attention and it comes with positive attention.
Right.
And so you guys kind of spoke of a little bit of the negative attention. What has been some of the positive attention that you guys have, or even positive, something positive that have come out of this experience for you all?
I mean, I can answer that by saying, first of all, strong relationships. You know what I mean? My boy Peter, that was my best friend. I
Yeah.
met him having sickle cell.
One of the best
You know
men
what I'm
ever
saying?
knew.
My brother here, I met him. We're great friends. We like brothers. Really, like we don't just say that.
But my kids, my
Right.
sister
So
kids, and
her
that's
and my
okay.
mom, we just spent Thanksgiving together or something
Yeah.
like that. One of those holidays. But you know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
that's just the start of it. We met so many doctors and people, walks of life, different people in the hospital of different cultures. And for me personally, I got a lot of positive out of it. It gave me a story. It gave me, because I feel like life is a lesson. That's why they call colleges universities, because in this universe, you're going to learn a lot of things. So I feel like me having sickle cell, it taught me about pain. It taught me about others and thinking about what other people go through. So I learned a
Empathy.
lot from it, man. I mean, we could go on and on. I did, I got recognized for it. I've done interviews with Stillers and Ryan
I heard you
Shazier.
just got a recent recognition for something.
Yeah, from the Children's Sickle Cell Foundation, I got an award for a community health worker award for just spreading awareness and working events and working with the kids and doing a lot of things. But that's something that that was just good to just get recognition. But that's something I'm going to do whether people notice it or not.
Regardless, man, congratulations on
I
that,
appreciate
man.
that, bro.
Being able to advocate and allowing other people to kind of see a journey. It's kind of like you being a witness of your own experience. So
Right, and I respect him, man, because I know Curtis, man. Like he's not the type of person to be in a lot of people's face. But I was able to pull him to events where a lot of kids was able to see this brother and see us, and we stand as like signals of strength for a lot of these kids. Like you wouldn't believe how many parents ran up to me almost crying, and their 12-year-old daughter or son will be right there, and they'd be like, "Wow, I didn't know you had sickle cell." Because when I would be at a lot of events, I don't have sickle cell wrote on my forehead. So a lot of people just thought I was part of staff. When I went to the hospitals, a lot of people thought I was, probably a doctor or researcher. You know what I mean? We go in there nicely dressed. But when a lot of people found out I had sickle cell, they were just so inspired because a lot of them feel like their kids aren't going to make it to be 30.
yeah,
And that's just the realness of the truth. So when they see us and see what we going through, it just means a lot to them. And that's why I feel like we gotta show face and gotta spread awareness. Or how would these kids be able to be inspired? Because I don't got nobody I could say other than my brothers, him and Peter, and I looked up to all of them because I felt like they had certain strengths I didn't have. I seen some of them go through some things I didn't go through and make it out and still be great people. So I feel like, it's just all in a lesson and all about, just giving back. That's it.
The doctors actually came to us because I guess me and Julian, people when people normally think about sickle cell patients, they think weak, not doing much with their life. Julian is a rapper. He's a successful rapper. I was doing car audio at the time as part of a team. I had the third loudest car in the world, 2015, in my class. So they looked at us and was like, can y'all talk to the younger kids and show them they can be successful in life when they grow up and be a shining example, be a pillar for the rest of the sickle cell community. And I appreciated that. And just me, my positive, that's one huge positive because I never thought I'd be in that position. uh and honestly, I'm grateful to have sickle cell. If I was able to do it all over again, I would, because I feel like sickle cell at the end of the day made me the man I am today. All the hardships, I got the people that are in my life as the people I need right now. I feel like I'm a good judge of character. Uh, I'm just grateful all around. I feel like if I didn't have sickle cell, I wouldn't have empathy for others. I could be one of these kids that had the same stuff I had growing up but chose a different route. I feel like I could be part of a gang or something like that. And I had to grow up fast in the hospital. So I have that mindset that you need. I'm just grateful, honestly. And I know I could deal with this pain. I'd rather have this pain and to take, if I felt like if I lost my sickle cell and somebody else would gain it, I wouldn't want that,
Hmm.
because most people can't deal with this life. I know I can deal with this. I
So
persevered.
I'm reminded, I oftentimes like to fuse my faith into kind of conversations and things of that nature, if you guys don't mind. So I'm reminded there's a story in the Bible where um, and it's in the gospel where it talks about there was a person who was born blind. And I know that's completely different from this, but just the context of it.
Hmm.
Um, the Basically the comment was, that he says is that the reason that he was born blind was that um, basically God would get the glory from it.
Hmm.
And what you just explained to me was just like, wow, like you saying like you wouldn't have changed like having the sickle cell is like, wow, because like I'm sure people who have certain diseases and sicknesses would be like, no, like if I had it another way, like I wouldn't want it, and so for you to have that posture, man, it's just like you know that that God is kind of walking and gracing you.
Hmm.
His grace is with you as you kind of maneuver through this process. Mom.
And honestly, I wouldn't even, I'm glad too that the Most High blessed me to be his mother, because empathy, sympathy, everything, I had that. I had a heart, I had a compassion, and I also had a fight and a drive too,
Mm-hmm.
to stand up and to get what my son needs. And I wish more people would have that fight and that drive. And like when I first started this journey with him, I used to put the doctors up on a pedestal. But then I came to realize that all they're doing is making educated guesses and that they really don't know. I mean, if you really stop and think about it, okay, you got what symptoms? It might be this, it might be that. Let me do a test. Okay, no, it's not. This is not that. And I have like 30 years experience with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I can stand by and not say anything, or I can stand up and tell these people what my son needs. And I've done that many times. And that's that's gave me confidence. I have self-confidence in myself. Like I said, I can look at someone like our friend Marcus, who's suffering with some type of, he don't know what's wrong with him.
The doctors don't. There's no name for his
Right.
illness right now.
And he's in so much pain, and I can have empathy and sympathy for him because I understand. Like a lot of his family members think he's faking,
Mm-hmm.
but because of my son Curtis goes through all this pain all the time, I can feel this boy's pain. Who am I to say that this kid is not in pain?
Right.
And a lot of us do that. A lot of us, we judge people and don't even know. Like Curtis, he doesn't look like nothing's wrong with him to realize all that he's been through. You never would have just seen him walking down the street. He looks like a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what someone else is going through. But at least now I can always put his shoes on my feet and try to walk a few steps in
Mm.
his steps and try to understand where someone's coming from.
Yeah. Well, we're about ready to wrap this up. I want you guys to share why, from you all's perspective, why it's important that number one, the community is informed about donating blood. Like, why is it impactful? Why is it necessary? And then after we do that, I want to kind of leave on a high note. Kind of just like on a just a on a high note. So if you guys don't, share why is it important to you all to that we would give blood?
I feel just growing up in the hospital, your blood could go to a child, it could go to an older person. Your blood has the potential to change somebody's outlook on their lives, on lives in general, in a positive light. And that's everything. Me personally, I felt for a time what it was like to be normal, run around with my friends, and not worry about me dropping from sickle cell pain, at least for a month. So if you could give some blood, you could really change people's lives for the better, even if it's for a short time. You could give somebody a positive outlook on life. And I feel like that's what it's really all about.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's important for the community to just try to get involved with it because you never know when it might affect you or your family, and then you would want somebody to be donating blood. It's kind of like almost really kind of like how people don't understand or care about sickle cell until some of them have a child with it. They ain't know they had the trait. Got with a girl that got the trait. They ain't know they, and now you gotta deal with it. So
Hmm.
now you know what I mean. You learn in the different
Now
things,
you
and
want everybody to stop their life
right.
to kind of
It's like
understand your pain, your
exactly.
scenario.
So
Yeah.
before it gets to that, support different things, get involved in different things. You know what I mean? It's cool to support other diseases and their awareness and their causes too. That's another thing that's important when it comes to community building. That's something that we done at the foundation a lot. Is get with other foundations, maybe a diabetes foundation, and learn because it's all about education, right? So if people aren't educated on how important blood is and how important certain people may need it, they may not feel the need to donate. That's why I said earlier with education, the lack of education that my family had, they weren't donating blood or, even trying to learn different, better diets for people with sickle cell or things
Right.
like that. So I just think the community just needs to always be involved in things that's good for people instead of waiting for something to happen and then wanting to get involved.
Got you.
And for me, one thing we don't do is support each other. United we stand, divided we fall. And we have to come together as a community and support each other.
That's it. I agree with that, and I think for those of you that are viewing or that will view, it's important to recognize that again, you have the ability to change and to transform and to save somebody's life simply by just donating and giving blood, simply by getting involved and being engaged and figuring out how it is that you could help and support other people in their journey. And I think being educated. And so, once again, thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to enjoy your time. Number one, of perhaps not even being in the hospital, right? And coming to educate us. And so we appreciate, you guys making that journey and coming to just to be with us. Thank you.
Thank you for
Anytime, man.
having
Thank
us.
you, man.
No, thank
This is
you.
this is very
Miss V.
important.
Miss V is she's doing a phenomenal job with VBW, and so we are excited to be partnering with them. This was actually her idea, their idea as far as an organization, and we came alongside and was just like, of course, why not? These are things that we want to do within the context of community, making people aware of different ways that they can impact other people and how it's important. We understand that people are afraid of needles, right? Like we understand that everyone's not open to those, but those that are, this is a very, very important way that you could again just change the trajectory of somebody else's life. So thank you guys so much for just tuning in. Thank you guys again for just being here. We
Thanks
want
for
you
having
to
us.
mark yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure. And perhaps maybe we might do round two.
Oh, for
I'm
You
sure.
know,
down.
we could do a round two. Um, July 19th, mark your calendars. We're going to be here at the Connect Center, 827 Linden Avenue in East Pittsburgh, PA 15112. There will be a link. Listen, we want to get at least 32 people to donate blood. However, if we can get more than that, that would be great. We set a target for 32, but I honestly believe that we can possibly get more than 32 people to be willing to give blood. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, man. Let me read. Yeah, my daughter, she came in, and so please follow. Make sure you come next week. See you all. That's she always be sending me these little notes to read to y'all. Um, so again, we thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next Thursday. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.